Seattle loses the Dragons. The Queen returns. And we have a list of potential head coaches for the Seahawks. Welcome back to another episode of the Seattle Sports Show where we love Seattle professional sports. I'm your host, Mikey. All right, so the first thing we're going to mention here, sadly, we have lost the Seattle Sea Dragons. The XFL and the USFL have done a merger. It is now the UFL. They only retained 8 of the teams between the two leagues combined, and the Sea Dragons will not be a part of it. The UFL is going to kick off on March 30th, so if you are just a football lover like me, you might be checking it out anyways. I've been following XFL. I watched it when it first came back. When it first came out, back in 2000. I watched it again when it made its return a couple years ago and then was cut short because of the pandemic. And then I picked it back up again with its return once again, a year ago. And they're getting ready to start the next season on March 30th. Again, there will be no more Sea Dragons. I do like that they're small market teams. There should be no LA Rams. It should be the St. Louis Rams. So if I can suggest to you, if you are going to watch the UFL when it starts on March 30th, for a team to root for, I would go with the St. Louis Battlehawks. They are a fun city that deserves a football team. Watching the XFL over the last couple of years, the fans show out there and have a good time, and at least they are a fun watch. So, maybe that can be a team that you watch to keep your interest in the XFL. If you're somebody like me you're going to want to watch professional football all year round or as much as you can. All right, so that's it for your Sea Dragons. Let's go ahead and catch up on everything else now. Again, because it's been almost a month since the last time I recorded a regular episode. We're just going to quickly try to catch up on everything though, and then like I said, after that, I'm going to try to record an episode at least every 3 or 4 days, and while it's not going to be like a weekly thing exactly where I need to take the time to talk about every team I want to talk about. If we're recording a new episode every couple of days, we can just focus on the couple of things that we need to talk about that happened in the last couple of days and talk about those things and how it's affecting our fandom. So that should make sure for shorter episodes and more frequent episodes. So let's look forward to that. All right. So this should be, this is going to be probably a little bit longer episode and longer video, depending on how you're consuming this. But it should be probably the last one that is going to last however long this one lasts. So let's get into it. Let's start off with our Seattle Seahawks. Okay. As I mentioned, we are, in the search of a new head coach, and we got a list now of coaches that are scheduled for interviews over the coming weeks. I did not see exactly what days any of these people are supposed to come in, so I can't tell you that right now. But we can tell you who is scheduled to come in. And right now, the Seahawks have scheduled interviews and requested interviews with Dan Quinn. I'm going to mention everybody's age as well because that seems to be a topic of interest to everybody. Is how young is our next coach can be? Since we had the oldest coach, people want to, I guess, just see a younger coach now. We were always going to get a younger coach than Pete. I don't think we might not end up with the youngest coach, but the possibility is actually there. Okay, so Dan Quinn, he is 53, currently the Cowboys defensive coordinator. And I'm just going to list them off right now. Raheem Morris, 47, is the Rams defensive coordinator. Ahiro Evero, 43, the Panthers defensive coordinator. Frank Smith is 42. He's the Dolphins offensive coordinator. Mike Kafka is 36 and is the Giants offensive coordinator. Patrick Graham is 44 and is currently the Raiders defensive coordinator. So right there, you could see what 4 out of the 6 coaches that they have scheduled to bring in right now are defensive coordinators. So that kind of tells you right there that their priority is to fix the defense because the last 2 years have been horrendous, just absolutely horrendous. Right, so they need somebody to come in and fix that right away. Dan Quinn, I know people are going to look at the last Cowboys playoff game and say they just got a ton of points put up on them. I don't want that. That's a couple of times we've seen the Dan Quinn defense get destroyed in the playoffs now. Well, again, let me remind you, Dan Quinn also was a defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, when they won the Super Bowl. Also, the defensive coordinator all 4 years in a row that the Seahawks set the record for the number of years in a row that a defense was #1 in defense. Yes, Dan Quinn was a defensive coordinator all 4 years in a row. No other defense in the history of the NFL has been the #1 defense 4 years in a row. That belongs to the Seahawks, and Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator. Has he got beat real badly a couple of times in the playoffs? Yes, and that can happen because, again, I keep hearing everybody say, oh, well, we need a young offensive coordinator, a young mind. Well, who are we talking about? All right, if you're talking somebody like that, you're talking about Mike McDaniel. Did you see what happened in his game this week in the playoffs? Scoring just 7 points. Okay, that's your young genius offensive mind. It's football. The players are playing against each other. Everybody's trying their best. The coaches are coaching against the other coaches. Everybody's trying their best. Everybody's going to have their day where they're awesome, and everybody's going to have their days where they're just horrible. Okay, so I wouldn't look at a couple of performances by Dan Quinn defenses throughout his career and say, oh, well, you can't hire that guy now. Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator for the Rams right now. You've seen him. We see him twice a year. And I would say that that defense is something that you wouldn't mind having. Of course, you'd like to know what is Raheem Morris going to do when he doesn't have generational talent like Aaron Donald on a defensive line. Does everything still work with what he does? It'd be interesting to find out. The Panthers defense with Evero. Not a lot of talent on that team, right? Just overall, decent talent on the defense. Not anything spectacular, but to be as good as they have been defensively, and again, even this year, that's pretty impressive. So you'd like to know, what could Evero do with a more talented team? Frank Smith, Dolphins offensive coordinator. Okay, um, you know, Mike McDaniel, he is one of the coaches who does call the plays for his team, right? Like we said, there's, um, you know, about a third or less of head coaches that actually call um, their that call their offense on game day. It's usually left to the actual offensive coordinator. Mike McDaniel does the play calling for the Dolphins. Frank Smith is the offensive coordinator, so he is making the game plan throughout the week, and making sure all the players are doing what they need to get prepared for the week on that offensive side of the ball. So, you know, would you like to see him go for a head coaching position and bring that type of offense over to the Seahawks? I sure wouldn't mind it. There are some similar types of players that are that the Seahawks and the Dolphins have as weapons. So again, I really thought the offense this year, their full potential was not maximized because of the play calling, because of the scheme that they deployed on offense. Could you bring in a Frank Smith, have that Dolphins style offense again, which is a 49er style offense, and you see that Shanahan offense, just how good that type of offense is at getting multiple players open throughout the field, making it so much easier for your quarterback to find open receivers in space, and then giving those weapons. Think your weapons like a DK Metcalf. Think about JSN. Think about K9 getting the ball in space and then giving them room to work with that and what they can do with the ball once they have that ball in space. I got to tell you, that would be fun to see. Again, I don't know if that's somebody you want as a head coach. You maybe want somebody who is running that offense to bring in your offensive coordinator. But it is sure, I'm sure glad that they're looking at that as an interview. Now our next one, Mike Kafka, 36 years old, Giants offensive coordinator. We just saw a couple years ago they got the Giants into the playoffs, right? And Mike Kafka was a big help, a big part of getting Daniel Jones playing, decently enough to get them into the playoffs. Good enough that it got Daniel Jones a contract that I don't think he actually earned based on his skill set. But because of the results, he got himself a big contract. And if Mike Kafka can get that out of Daniel Jones, what can he get out of another quarterback? Can he take another quarterback with more skill and make them even better? Can he take that offense, and if you give him like talented players, because think of that Giants just offense in general. Yeah, you're not thinking of a lot of talent, are you? there's not much there. If Mike Kafka is given talent, can he actually make an offense go? Because the Giants offense, this one is why it's a little bit puzzling to me, because I looked at their numbers up, and while he's been the offensive coordinator, they've been the low 20s, year after year, like 27th and 28th in scoring. like the last 2 years in a row. So so that's not good. Uh, but you can see, like I said, you could see what he can get out of a lesser quarterback, and you can see how that offense could work if you had some talented players. So, they got to bring him in, I guess, and see if he can really make it work. The next one is Patrick Graham. Again, he's 44, the Raiders defensive coordinator. And again, another one, another guy where you feel like, hey, over a certain number of years, not exactly the most talent in the world, uh, but getting decent results out of him. Better than you would think. I mean, they have Max Crosby over there, but again, not a lot. So, do you give him a more talented team? Does he do better? Or you say, hey, we see that you're doing more with less. We have less right now. We need to get more out of our defense so that it can at least get to an average level play, so that our above average offense can do what it does, and hopefully, the defense playing better puts a little bit less pressure on the offense, and we get better results overall on the outcome of the games. Again, out of this list, Dan Quinn is by far the favorite to me, and that's what's just a little bit disappointing to me. This list makes me kind of feel like, okay, yeah, Dan Quinn is their guy. They want Dan Quinn to get the job. I saw the Chargers. They already had an interview with Jim Harbaugh. They put out their little social media post saying that they had interview with Jim Harbaugh. The Falcons did the same thing for Bill Belichick. And again, if I'm the Seahawks, I really want them to get an interview with Jim Harbaugh, get him in the door, give him a chance to interview and see what he can do. I know some people think the Chargers looks like a great destination for people because they have Justin Herbert there, so they got a young quarterback with potentially a career ahead of him. But that team overall, not great. Can you get Jim Harbaugh in the door? Give him an interview. He's probably going to impress you because he's impressed everywhere he's been, and he's had success everywhere he's been. And then does he take a look at this roster and say, wow, there's a lot to work with here offensively, and I can get this defense up and running, and this is something that I could make work. Because again, to me, Jim Harbaugh is actually the guy you want, that gives you the team you want as a Seahawks fan. You want, a hard nosed team that is tough both on the offense and defense, in the trenches. You want a more balanced team that runs the ball, does play action pass. You want those things. Jim Harbaugh has done those things at every level on every team he's coached and done it successfully. So, still Jim Harbaugh is somebody that I hope that they put on their list, and I hope comes in for an interview. I know there's a lot of talk out there that's saying like, oh, well, but maybe he would be somebody that would want a lot of control. Maybe he'd want more control over personnel and draft and all that. Yeah, maybe, but maybe again, you get him in the door, you get him an interview, and say, hey, look how well John Schneider and Pete Carroll worked together. Pete Carroll had the final say over the last number of years. John Schneider just guided it. He doesn't want to give that up, but hey, trust me, we can make this work. I'm gonna hear you out, and John can say, if you really want a player, you can convince me. And if I agree with you, or even if you just convince me that's the way we got to go, I'm willing to listen. And some of the time we're going to go your way, but sometimes we're going to go my way. That type of thing. Can they work that out? If that is something that is really an issue for Jim Harbaugh, if he's going to want more control to whatever team he goes to. Again, for me, as a Seahawks fan, Dan Quinn sounds great. He would be, again, one of my top choices, but I would really want to make sure you're interviewing all the other top choices as well. I mean, that would even include Bill Belichick. Do you know, again, based on current or most recent track record, I wouldn't want him, but the mind, you might as well just bring him in. Bring him in for an interview and find out if he's still got anything left. But again, Jim Harbaugh's still top guy to me. When I look at this list, it just does not look like enough competition for Dan Quinn to me. I want to, I want that always compete, right? I want to see all the best of the best coming in here for an interview, and then Jody Allen and that ownership group to really have to have a hard decision on saying, okay, well, we really like Dan Quinn. We thought he was our guy, but should we go with somebody else because we brought in all these great minds? That's what I'd like to see. Not to disparage any of the other coaches who are on this list, but I just track record of just being coordinators, or even at different points having head coaching jobs. I just not seeing it with this list. Not enough competition for Dan Quinn here, and I'd like to see more. All right, that's your Seahawks. That's what they're looking at. That's what they're doing going forward, is starting the interview process. So we'll see how that goes. Again, to me, Dan Quinn, love it, but I just wish there was more competition on that list. Let's head on over and talk some Mariners now. Okay, so for the Mariners, since the last time we recorded, they've done a few good things, surprisingly, to every Mariners fan. On Christmas Eve, they signed catcher / DH, going to be DH majority of the time, I would think, for the Mariners here, Mitch Garver, to a 2-year, $24 million deal with a mutual option for a 3rd year. All right, so hey, we got an actual DH signed to the team. No more platooning the DH position. You know how much Jerry Dipoto has just loved to platoon, get as many platoons as he can on the team at many different positions. Fans have been wanting an actual DH for years now. We got one, an actual DH. That is good to see. We saw, he just won a World Series with the Rangers, right? So hopefully he can bring some of that magic over here to the Mariners and get us going in that direction. All right, we traded Jose Caballero to the Rays straight up for outfielder Luke Raley. Straight up. We got an everyday outfielder for Jose Caballero, one of our platoon guys in the infield. We were able to trade him away for an everyday outfielder. When that happened, I was thinking, wow, they're making moves, and they are on when they are. I don't know how they're doing this right now, because then right after that we traded Robbie Ray to the Giants for Mitch Haniger and right-hand pitcher Anthony DeSclafani. So you're looking right there. You go, whoa, okay, you brought in Luke Raley. Now you have your everyday outfielder that you traded a platoon player for. You're getting Mitch Haniger in here, fan favorite in the past. He spent just 1 year away, but now you're getting him back, fan favorite. Has he had a lot of injuries in the past? Yeah, but I'm betting he's going to be a platoon out in that outfield. Now, hopefully that should save him a little bit. And you're getting another pitcher in here who they've already told this guy that, hey, you're going to be the long relief, you're going to be the sixth pitcher, starter on days where we need it. If we need to give somebody else another week rest, that's great. I'm really liking what the Mariners are doing right now. Do I think that they're done? No, I think this is because of the way this offseason started out. It was looking really, really, really bleak, right? It was looking like, wow, this team's going to be nothing. Well, already now, this lineup looks just as good, or maybe even slightly better than last year's. But it's similar to last year, where they have not yet to this point gone out and gotten that big piece that makes you go, wow, that's the guy that's going to put us over the top. They haven't done that with a pitcher this year. They haven't done that with a hitter yet. It makes you look at this roster and go, hey, they're going to hit their 54% again. They're going to hit that 88 wins that they want to, that they want to have as the average over a 10-year period. They want that 54%. Well, this team is looking like a 54% team. So they're hitting that target, but we sure would like to hit the target. And again, that was just one game off from making the playoffs this year, just 2 games off from winning the division. But you sure would like to see them make a move that makes you go, oh, this team really is a potential division winning team. Not a team that you go, oh, well, it's on the fringe. You want to say, whoa, that guy just made our lineup from top to bottom dangerous and scary for other teams. We know we have that in the pitching, but we want that in our batting lineup. We need that other guy. Hopefully they can make another move. Again, who knows what's going to happen with their payroll. We don't really know how much they have left. Jerry Dipoto said, still is coming out and saying that, at the end of the year, their payroll will be, could be end up being slightly higher than it was last year. Well, what does that mean? Is it going to be a million more, 2 million more? Who knows? But just from all the reporting this offseason, it sounds like it's not going to be much more, and it might even be less. Again, they are less right now. They can go out and spend 20 million on a player right now, and it would still be less than last year. That would give them, if they really only want to stay about the same as last year, or only go a little bit over, then that would only give them a couple million left to work with, within the year. So you don't know how many trades they'd be able to make at the trade deadline, or what other moves they would make for signings like throughout the season. So maybe that wouldn't be good if they signed somebody big right now. And you never know what injuries might come up throughout the season. But again, just as a Mariners fan, that sucks. That's something that we're thinking about. Again, we could have signed the Shohei Ohtani contract. Again, he wouldn't have come here just because, the ownership here is not committed to winning like he feels the Dodgers are. But just to reiterate how far off we are, is that we could have signed that Shohei Ohtani deal, that $70 million deal, and we'd still, not crack the top 10 payrolls in Major League Baseball. That's how low they're keeping our payroll right now. That's pretty lame for a team that gets as much support as they do. I mean, I take my kids to multiple games each year, and that place is always packed. I always see people buying tons of merch, tons of concessions. They charge you an arm and a leg for parking. it's just a bummer that you feel like as a fan that you're pouring your heart into it, but they are they are not putting their best effort to put the best team together that they can. Um, you know, I really hope that they go out and make a couple more moves again for uh, and it could be either really. I mean, if you go out and get a big time pitcher right now to add that to that rotation, and then you have guys that you know that gives you more room to trade Miller and Woo to potentially bring back the other bat in a trade that maybe controllable as well and doesn't cost as much. Uh, that's not a bad way to go about it. Or if they just go sign that big bat straight up and give him money, I'm not going to complain about that either. Either way, I want this team to make another move. I want to see them make the move this offseason that tells us, hey, we really are trying to contend for a World Series. We're not just looking to hit that 54%. That way we can say that we've had a winning season and, say that, hey, we were right there, or say, hey, this year it was good enough to make the playoffs. I want to see the team take the step that goes, hey, this is the move that, put us in serious contention and is going to get into the playoffs definitely for the next 4 or 5 years straight. That's what I want to see. I'm a Mariners fan. I want to see my team consistently in the playoffs, not okay, well, we hit the 54%, and some years 54% is good enough to get into playoffs. Some years it's not. You just gotta do what you can. No, I make the move. Make the move now to get us into the playoffs for a run. Okay, I want to see them multiple years in a row in the playoffs, multiple chances in a row to get a World Series. We're still the only team that has not even been to a World Series. I want to be in a World Series. Okay. Again, I'm liking the moves that the Mariners are making, hoping that there's more to come. Let's go ahead. Let's talk some Kraken now. So, for our Kraken, my goodness, bummer. The last game they played now, which is on MLK Day, they ended up losing, which broke a 9-game winning streak. But wow, what fun it has been to watch in the last month since the last time I recorded. And again, the last time I recorded, they had been losing a lot. I came on here and said, I don't know much hockey, but this team does not look good. They're not scoring. They don't look like they know how to score. And I don't know how they can turn it around because, as a casual fan, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do anything that, that would turn this thing around. And again, all of that was proven true. Yep, I haven't. Like I said, I don't know anything about hockey, obviously, because they did something to make this thing work. One of the things they did was trade for Tomas Tatar. They moved some players around on each of the lines, and it looks like we got, we're running 4 deep now on our lines. That's great. You can score from top to bottom now. Again, went on a 9-game win streak. We are tied currently at the moment for a wild card spot in the playoffs. Again, when the last time I recorded, we were way out. That's why I was like, we're so far out of a playoff spot. I just didn't see how they would make it happen. But again, a 9-game winning streak. Going 4 deep on your lines now. They all look like they have chemistry. It looks like they can actually get this thing done. Again, they did finally lose a game, but they were missing a lot of players in this game. There was like 4 or 5 injuries. Going into this game that players weren't playing, so. You don't feel too bad about that one. You went into the game going like, oh wow, we have a lot of our major players out. So this is going to be a tough win, anyways. And you're going against a tough Penguins team, that still has Sidney Crosby. So you're not feeling too bad for not getting any points out of this one. Hopefully they can get right back on track and get back to scoring some points in the standings and get themselves in the playoffs. I mean, let's see here. Let me look. I didn't look at this exactly. What do we got left? I mean, we're about 19, 15, and 9. So, I mean, I guess we're about halfway through the season. So, still plenty of time left. And, if they keep playing like they've been playing, they could very well end up in the playoffs again this year. I know I'm having fun watching again. So, at least there's that. Even if they don't get into playoffs, like, my goodness, what fun it's been to watch, especially Joey Decord, right? Who would have thought that he would come in and dominate like he has, in the Winter Classic, getting a shutout, the first shutout in Winter Classic history. That's pretty amazing. You saw the Scorpion save that he had the other day. You got to go check that out. That was awesome. Again, I'm no hockey expert. Like I said, this podcast is just about being a fan, and it sure is fun to be a Kraken fan right now. I got a Kraken hoodie from my family for Christmas, and one, it's really comfortable, but yeah, it sure is great wearing it around right now. With you feel proud wearing it with how well the team has been playing over the last month. All right, that's your Kraken. Let's keep cheering them on, and hopefully they're gonna get into the playoffs by the end of the year. Let's go ahead and let's talk little storms for our storm. Since the last time we recorded, not a lot has happened, but they did do the lottery. The storm have the number 4 pick. Bummer, right? You were really hoping. I mean, we had the lowest chances out of the 4 teams, but you were really hoping that you could get that number 1 pick, right? Didn't get it. We got the number 4 pick. I think I did mention that in the last episode, but that's what we ended up with. I think we're still going to get a phenomenal player, because with the players that are coming out in the draft this year, potentially. I haven't heard any news about any of these players sticking in for another year, but potentially there's a lot of big talent coming out this year. So even at the number 4 pick, you should get a great player. The schedule for 2024 was also announced, so you can go look that up and get yourself ready to attend some of the games this year. All right. Let's see. Once they have the draft, we'll figure out who they pick and how that's going to affect the outlook of the team for the coming year. Let's go ahead and we can talk about the Sounders. The Sounders, I know, have been making some moves. Last time we talked about the cool logo changes that they did. Seems like they're, in the process of making some good signings throughout this offseason. Again, like I said, I'm not a soccer expert either, so I don't know all these players that they're bringing in, but I saw they signed the Argentinian player that we were excited about. I think we talked about that in the last episode as well. That was a regular episode, and they signed this defender Nathan. think there's like a lot of players that just go by a single name in this in soccer, right? Uh, I don't see that in any other sport. But anyways, um, their 2024 schedule is out as well, making moves. Hopefully, we're again going to be making moves and getting this team back into the playoffs again this year. I will be watching, and I will, well, I'll probably be listening on the radio since they're still, on their Apple TV Plus deal. But you know, I'll be consuming the games one way or another and cheering this team on to hopefully a playoff contention this year in MLS. Like I said, they're also making moves. It looks like I still haven't heard any official word, but I'm thinking they must be purchasing the Seattle Rain, right? Yes, you heard that right. I said Seattle Rain. Let's go ahead and talk about them because they are the Seattle Rain once again. The Queen returns. No more OL Rain. Get that junk out of here. Okay? We don't need to know that. We don't need the OL. Good for you. Your OL group over there in France. You bought the team. We don't need your OL branding. We are Seattle. We want the Seattle Rain, and that's what we got. And I absolutely love bringing back the Queen for the logo, rebranding it Seattle Rain FC, and I love the color changes that they put in here for the logo as well. The original logo was just a little bit different from this. It was exact same logo, but the coloring just being a little bit different. I love all the gold in this, the purple and the black. That looks real good. We got we got Valentine's Day coming up here real soon. My wife and I happen to get married on that day as well. So, Valentine's anniversary gifts. I think I'm going to be asking for some Seattle Rain gear because that stuff is looking fire right now. All right. So, the Seattle Rain, their schedule's out as well. They're in the off season. Now, it's been a little bit tough, right? I mean, they had the expansion draft because we have Bay FC and we have Utah that were added. Well, Alyssa Monson was selected by Bay FC in the expansion draft, and Elise Bennett was selected by Utah in the expansion draft. Elise Bennett was then traded to San Diego, but either way, we have lost Alyssa Monson and Elise Bennett. That was already tough enough for me as a Reign fan. And then Emily Sonnet and Rose Lavelle both decide to go sign with New York. They pulled a Kevin Durant. You go and sign with the team that you just lost to in the championship game? Man, that hurts. I was like, what are they doing? Because those are all four of those players that we just mentioned. The two we lost in the expansion draft, the two that we're losing to free agency to New York. Those are all four really great players. So bummed that we're losing all those players. Now, I will say this about the Seattle Reign. I am not really worried for the upcoming year. We still have some great veterans. Jess Fishlock is still here. That's always great. Bethany Balser signed an extension. That is amazing. We just had some. We just had the draft. The MLS or the NWLS draft was just the other day. And I didn't think to pull that up. Let's see who we selected in the draft. Okay, let's see. In the draft, again, not being a soccer expert, I'm not going to know all these players. I don't know any of the players, but I know that we signed or we drafted some players. We got Sam Meza with the 17th overall pick. We got Matty Mercado with the 27th pick, and McKenna Carr with the 43rd pick. So, we got some players to, some young players, some young talent to come in here and replace those players. I'm thinking they had a good draft just based off of what I've read. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just thinking, hey, I'm liking what I'm reading about these prospects, so that's good news. And then the other good news thing that we should all feel good about with the Reign going into next season is that this team has a lot of depth. Now, you got to remember, we didn't get Emily Sonnet until later on in the season, right? If I remember right, because that was a trade. Rose Lavelle, in fact, these players, a lot of them spent time away from the team on national duties, right? Plus, Rose Lavelle spent a lot of time injured, and we still got as far as we did. So, I'm thinking this team, as much as it hurts to lose those players, we obviously didn't need them throughout the year to still get where we got. So I think we're going to be okay. I still have great confidence in this team. I don't think we're looking at a Seattle Storm situation, right? Seattle Storm last year, you had one of your greatest players ever retire, just like the Reign are this year, right? When the greatest player ever in the history of franchise retiring, and then you're losing a lot of big name players, just like Storm the year before, right? Your biggest player ever retires. Your one of your current stars goes and signs again with New York, of course. And for the Storm, that didn't work out so well. It was just too much talent exiting at once to have a good season this past season. The Reign, I don't think that's the same situation. I think there's so much depth on this team, so many good starters still here that we are going to be just fine, and we're going to still find ourselves in the playoffs and find ourselves in contention. So I'm really looking forward to this next season. And that is the Seattle Reign. Again, the Queen has returned. I'm so excited for that. And that is going to be the episode. That we covered everything. We're all caught up now. Again, just a quick overview. Now, going forward, the way I'm hopefully going to do this is record an episode every couple of days, and I'll be able to react more quickly to big news rather than being like, hey, something happened. I record on a Sunday, something happens on Tuesday. Well, I'm not going to talk about it until the next Sunday, and now a bunch of other things have happened. So now I don't have as much time because I have to talk about. I don't have to, but I want to talk about every team, and I only have so much time to record on a daily basis, right? So I can make shorter episodes, which will make it easier for me to record more consistently and keep up to date on the topic. So we can, to me, again, the fun thing about being a fan is talking about all the stuff that's happening, right away with other fans. So hopefully, doing it this way will promote some more interaction with you all, and being able to share our fandom with each other. All right. That is going to be the episode. Like I said, we'll keep things going here. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're on a podcast version, please hit the follow button or the subscribe button. Hit a 5-star rating, leave a review. That all helps the show out. Find more listeners, find more fans, so that we can all enjoy our Seattle sports fandom together. Okay, and thank you for listening to the Seattle Sports Show, where we watch legends awaken. So take cover, because with a sea of sound, you will see us rise to reign supreme and win forever.